Hi there, my name is Rachel Dunn and I am the CEO and founder of Girl Director. I'm really excited to share my Million Dollar Women video series with you. I wanted to create a video series talking to inspirational women around the world that have created $1 million plus businesses that can teach you some of the biggest challenges they've had to face in creating their business. And I have never seen an interview series that dives really deep into what some of the challenges have been and what's the thinking been and how they've grown up around money and what some of the things that you can start to think about around money to start changing your mindset. Because really you can create anything that you want. And I have been doing this my whole life, whether it's creating the Girl Director business, whether it is going after and creating an amazing documentary called Through Elephant Eyes, chasing this idea around the world, whether it is being a music video director in the 90s. Whatever the case has been, I've always had a big vision in my mind of what I wanted to create. And then in my imagination, I would go and I'd visualize this idea and then I would go to it. Sometimes it takes a short time, sometimes it takes a long time. And what I love about these different interview series is that you're going to learn different strategies, different techniques. You're going to learn gold. So get your notebook out, get comfortable, because I have some incredible women that I have had the pleasure of either being coached or I have had the pleasure of mentoring in the video space. So stay tuned, and I can't wait to share these incredible women with you. So let's get to it. Welcome to our first guest, Karen Brook. So Karen, I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory. Karen is incredible. When I first met Karen, it was about, I would say, quite a few years ago now. And Karen actually came to work with us on how to learn how to use video. And I really saw her as being this real go-getter. There was something really special about her that I just knew that she was going to do big things in the world. We were teaching her video and how to get out there and film videos herself. And then she disappeared for a while. And I just started to see her change. I started to see things shift online. And she started doing incredible videos, but something had shifted within her. And I contacted her and I said, hey, Karen, I've just been noticing you and what on earth are you doing? Because something has changed in you. And she started to share with me that she started to work with Bob Proctor. She is the number one consultant, one of the number one consultants out of 1,200 in the world. So she has created $1 million business from studying, implementing, and teaching Bob Proctor's material. She is amazing at really going deep with the laws of the universe and really tapping into the thinking side of your business. Let me introduce Karen, and she has so much wisdom that she's going to teach you. So stay tuned and grab that pen.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited about this particular series, that's for sure.
So am I.
So yeah, let's get stuck into it because we really want to get into the content and give lots of value in this video series. When did you decide you wanted to create $1 million business?
So I decided that I wanted to create $1 million business probably back in 2015. Although there is a little bit of a backstory to that. I always knew that I would be a millionaire. I always knew that I would be a multimillionaire. Even if you were to go back and ask my family, my brothers and sisters around that, they would have said the same thing. So certainly in 2015, I knew that, right, this was it. I was going to set about creating $1 million business. And then I had been on that pathway for a period of time, but it was August 2019 where I really named it and claimed it. And I said that I would be a millionaire by the time I turned 35. And my 35th birthday is March 2020. So when I named it and claimed it, I was definitely already on the pathway. There's no doubt about that. But I really declared it for myself in April 2019. August 2019, my mistake. August 2019.
So did you grow up around money? Just tell me a little bit about how you grew up and what were your thoughts around money when you were growing up?
In terms of growing up around money, I certainly did grow up around money. My family always had money, but we never really spoke about it. So I always knew that my family had money and that we were wealthy, but it wasn't something that we necessarily spoke about, and we didn't show it. We were very respectful of money and the privilege that we had. That was something that I probably had to really work on later on in life to create my $1 million business. Being really okay with money and having it and speaking about it and naming it and claiming it and accepting that I was a wealthy woman. Because growing up, we had a very good relationship with money, but it wasn't one that you would outwardly express. What my family taught me about money, we always had to work for it. So there was definitely a level of respect around money and earning it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So my parents were very, very generous in educating us. I grew up in the outback in a very remote area, and so I had the privilege of education in a major capital city that they invested in, and also the privilege of a university degree. But anything other than that, my parents, I had to earn the money. I didn't just get a handout. I did have to go out and earn it. And when I started my first business when I was 18, it was the same thing. They weren't just giving me money to go and start a business. If I ever asked them for a loan, I always had to pay it back. That taught me respect. It taught me if someone's going to invest in you, then you keep your word if you're going to pay that person back. So, I was earning money at a very young age. I was very entrepreneurial, Rachel.
What was your first business? Did you have a lemonade stand or anything like that?
Just about. I would do little BMX fundraisers, and I would do all sorts of, I would sweep the driveway at the local roadhouse, and I'd clean dishes at the local hotel. And, I was always thinking of how I could earn some money. But I learnt very early about the law of compensation, and we can talk a little bit more about that later on tonight. But I learnt that you've got to give something to get. So I would do cleaning jobs. I would wash dishes. I would sweep driveways. I would make stuff to sell. I would be of service to earn the money. And so I learnt that about money, and I had that relationship with it very early on.
What's some of the key beliefs that you feel like you really had to work on to shift?
So one of the key beliefs some of the beliefs that I probably had to really shift and work on to create $1 million business was this idea of working hard and trading time for money. When we look at the way we have relationships with money or about earning money, for most people, it is around trading time for money. So hourly rates, day rates, all the rest of it. Now, fundamentally, it would be very difficult for you to go over 7 figures doing that. And working hard. Like when we talk about, I don't hustle. I used to hustle, but I don't hustle. I get a lot done in a very calm, relaxed way. And so I had to change my mental programming that said you have to work hard to earn a lot of money, that you need to struggle to earn a lot of money. Now, I don't know where exactly I really picked that up. I don't think I picked that up from my family. We're in agriculture. So I don't think I really picked that up from my family, but I certainly picked up that from existing in society, letting other people influence me. There are so many blogs and businesses and coaching programs and all sorts that make their money off selling the hustle. And we see it everywhere, that if you're not working hard, then you either don't deserve to earn the amount of money you earn. That's
Mm,
probably a massive thing, or it's impossible for you to do it. You've just about got to break yourself to do it. And so
true.
that was probably a societal paradigm or belief that I had to really overcome. Probably another belief was that it could flow freely and easily, so that it wasn't hard to earn money. I mean, I know we've already spoken about that, but that you could go out there and provide great service, and that you could close the deals, and that it could be easy to make the sales and have the money in the bank. That because again, we have experiences in business that are contrary to that. And I had a number of years over the global financial crisis. I had a design and branding business, and I really took some massive hits financially. And that led me to create a belief system where I didn't think that I was a very good financial money manager. And that really was a huge thing for me to shift. I had taken these hits, and I had anyone from my bank manager to family to whoever could really provide some advice on the situation. And it all seemed to stem back to, well, you just didn't know what you were doing, Karen. And that's probably true, but I really took that on board, and it really impacted my self-image and my belief system around my ability to go out there and earn big money. And I stopped thinking big money. I stopped thinking about earning $1 million, and I started to think about getting out of debt. And I started to think about how to make ends meet. And obviously, because that's what I was thinking, that's the way the cycle started to spin. And I got into this which lots of people do, into this kind of black hole. And I was like, is this as good as it gets? Like, what's happened to me? I used to be a driven, out there, go and take over the world kind of girl, and I lost myself in all of that. I was like, well, maybe I am pretty crap at managing money. Maybe I'm not very good at business. Maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not good enough, or it's not my time, or I'm not old enough yet to become wealthy. And so I had all of that stemming off the back of the money paradigm, the money belief. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's some really interesting points around hustle, and I love that. So a few tips, a few things that I've really heard that stand out are the law of compensation, the beliefs around money, and what people tell you and what people say about you, because it's so easy. The people that you love and care about, if they're saying to you, look, you're no good with money, or you're never going to amount to anything, or that job is that's never going to make anything. Or if you're in a creative job as well, I hear this a lot out there, is artists don't create money. Or if you're a music video director, you're not going to earn the income or have the big budgets.
Yeah.
And then you just go, well, what am I doing? How am I going to survive? And that just keeps repeating itself.
100%. It perpetuates. And even the idea, the belief system that we have, that you have to save your money. And when we look at that, saving is a lack and limitation mindset. It sets up the belief that there's not more coming. And so we get caught in that cycle as well. Well, I better save, I better watch, I better not buy the things that I want. And so, but we want more money. So we're out there trying to earn more money, but the belief that's at the back of it is that I believe that no more's coming to me, because I'm in the habit of saving and watching every penny of what I do and living meekly, because actually I believe that no more's coming to me.
And what I also love about, and I again run the backstory about where you've come from, because you've come from having your own business, and now you're one of Bob Proctor's top, is it 1% of his consultants around the world?
Yeah.
And I love that, because when you're working within an organization, it's very easy to go, well, if you win that organization early on, or if there's so many consultants out there, that you're not going to create the income. But what I love about what you've done is your creativity is infinite, and you can create infinite possibilities. And when you're totally invested and you love the work and you love what you teach and it gets phenomenal results, you can create anything that you want. And you've turned that into what you do, and your role even at the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and just about what you do. It's phenomenal. So
yeah. Absolutely. Momentum breeds momentum, and you can be creating momentum in the opposite direction to what you want, which is, again, we've all been there, or we've done that at one point or another, where you're thinking about everything that you don't want to happen and you create momentum in that direction. Or you can really work on your mindset, your millionaire mindset, and create momentum in the direction of what you want, creating a 7-figure business. And it's just the discipline of where you're directing your thoughts, and learning how to do that to create the forward momentum towards what you want. Anyone can do it.
And it is who you hang out with. It really is the people that you surround yourself by. Would you agree? It's the people that you surround yourself by that see the bigger vision of where you're going, that have a massive influence.
Absolutely. I think mentorship and coaching is so important, so I'm a mentor and a coach to a lot of people, but I also seek out mentorship and coaching from Bob, from my leaders at PGI. They're like my family. I think that's really important, because you can't go beyond your level of awareness. And so, I needed to work with somebody who could show me and teach me how to think like a multimillionaire, and how to build the habits like a multimillionaire, and show up like that. And I've been showing up like that and you could attest to this, Rachel, for years before that money was in my bank account. So I think that's really important, and community is really, really important. That you've got to be surrounding yourself with people who are going places. You got to have a look at the people that you spend a lot of time with. Are they where you want to be? Are they earning 7 figures? Are they earning high 6 figures? The people that are earning $50,000 or $100,000 a year are not thinking and acting like someone who's earning $1 million a year. They're not even close in that feeling, in that vibration. So it's really important that you choose your inner circle wisely, who you start to spend a lot of time with, and that you seek out people who are where you want to be. And what I think is more important than that is you seek out and spend a lot of time with people who have demonstrated by results that they know what they're talking about. Because there's a lot of people who will demonstrate by degrees that they know what they're talking about, but they're not getting any results. So, I work with, as you know, very closely with Bob Proctor. He's 85. He dropped out didn't even finish school. But you only have to look at his results to know that what he's talking about is real and true of the way the universe works, and the way to build a very, very successful business. He's helped millions of people around the world. And so, you're sort of like, well, I want a bit of that. And you get that direct download, and then you can apply it to your own business. So I think mentorship and coaching is critical. My dad, even, Rachel, he's in his early 70s now, but I remember, he's very, very successful businessman. And I remember him opening a particular event when he was probably late 60s, and he thanked his mentors. He thanked someone, close to him that he was on the board with for his mentorship. And he's in his late 60s, early 70s, and he's still seeking out guidance and mentorship from whoever he needs to speak to, who's got a little bit more information, a little bit more awareness than he does. So that attitude that you don't know it all, and that there's always more to learn, you'll always be on the right side of the train, heading in the right direction with that attitude.
And also, if you're not open to learning and you're resisting, even if you've heard it before, if you're not open to the new you won't allow new things to come in, and you'll be blocked off from that new awareness or new download to come in. So 100%. I always say that it's so important to open your mind. Even if you've heard it a million times before, you just don't know what new awareness is going to pop in that you needed to know.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about, because I'm fascinated. I think when I was growing up in country town, Mount Gambier, I made a decision early on in my life that I'd be a millionaire too. And it was really interesting, because a lot of the people that I went to school with said, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to marry somebody rich. And that was just what I was surrounded by. And I also, one of my uncles actually won the lottery, and he won $1 million. I think it was a couple of $1 million. And I wasn't that close with him, but I saw that dwindle away, and he didn't know what to do with it. And I think that watching that from afar and just seeing that these guys won so much money in the 80s, that was a lot of money. But watching also what happened to it when you don't know what to do with it, or how to, how to treat that money or know what to do with it to create wealth. So it's really interesting. From my childhood, I've been fascinated in the pathway of creating $1 million. So I'd love to understand the steps that you feel, if we could just outline the major steps. And I've got lots of steps from all different people I've studied through the years. There's been 29 steps, there's been 10 steps. Like, I'd love to know what your steps or pathway to creating $1 million would be.
Wow. Well, we probably could come up with 29 steps. I did think about this question of what is the pathway to creating $1 million business. And to be honest, I came up with four steps to start off with, yeah. But I'm sure we could sit here and map out more of them. So the first thing that I think is important is to accept the idea. Step number one is actually to accept the idea that that is a possibility for you, that if you want to have $1 million business, then it can be done. We get too far into saying, well, what's the strategy and what's the business plan, and I'll try to do it, when actually you haven't even accepted the idea yet that you can have it, that it is a possibility for you. And so accepting the idea and saying, I accept that idea. I accept that as a truth for me. I accept that I want to do this. I think that's, for me, that's step number one. You have to accept the idea. Yep. Step number two is to make a committed decision. You don't need to know the how. And this, Rachel, this step is probably the most overlooked and undervalued step that everybody misses when they think about goals, when they think about creating progress or change in their life. They haven't made a committed decision. And so they go looking for the how or the opportunity or the business, but they actually haven't made a committed decision to say, I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter whether it takes me a year or 2 years or 5 years. I'm going to go out and become the person that is worthy of earning $1 million a year, a seven-figure business. So I think that committed decision, when you make a committed decision, you cut yourself off from any other possibility. A committed decision isn't, well, I hope that I can do it, I wish that I could do it. It is where you say, this I shall do.
It's an attitude shift, isn't it? Because when you have a wish, it's very different to a wish. And like, oh, I hope that I do, but it's like, I'm determined, like if hell breaks out or whatever you want to call it, I am doing it no matter what happens. And that's really the attitude, isn't it? It's the determination and going, you know what, if it takes me 5 years, if it takes me the rest of my life, I'm committed.
Absolutely, 100%. And what's great about it is once you've made the committed decision, which are a couple of these other steps that I've got to share with you, you sort of forget about the money and you think about the growth aspect of it, and you think about, well, the law of compensation, which we'll go through in a minute, but you think about, well, how does that person operate? What are we doing in the business? What do I now need to do in terms of service and value to be at the level of $1 million a year? So the $1 million a year just gives you a new level of consciousness to orientate yourself to. And, but without that committed decision, you're going to keep creating from where you currently are, hoping that you get there. You don't have to get there. You actually have to come from that place. And so that's why committed decision, making a decision is the next step. Accept the idea, make a committed decision. The third thing I would say, and it was really hard to try and put this into some steps, but I thought what I love to do is there's a universal law called the law of relativity. So nothing is big nor small unless we compare it to something else. And so if you're earning $100,000 at the moment a year in your business and you want to earn $1 million a year, it might seem quite big at the moment to be able to make that jump. If you start to think about earning $10 million a year, and then you pull it back to $1 million, it doesn't look so big anymore. It might still look big compared to 100, but going from 100 to 10 million is a much bigger jump than 100 to $1 million. So I like to then use the law of relativity to break it down to the ridiculous. And this is what I just kept doing this with my goal. And well, what does that look like daily? What does it look like weekly? What does it look like monthly? Now, $1 million a year is about 80-ish thousand dollars a month. And it's around about $20,000 a week, thereabouts.
Yeah.
So, and then you can break that down to a daily figure as well. So when you start to do that, when you go from $100,000 a year, which will be $8,000 a month, now you're thinking $8,000 to $20,000 a week. Mentally, it doesn't seem as big. It still is big, but you can sort of get your head around, right, well, I was earning $2,000 or $3,000 a week. Now I want to figure out how I can earn $20,000 a week. And that's all you have to figure out. You don't have to figure out how to go and earn $1 million a year. You have to start to think about, well, what would I be doing in my business if I'm creating business at $20,000 a week? How would I be showing up? How am I thinking? How am I feeling? What am I doing? And you're getting into that feeling of $1 million a year, but you're being kinder to your mind, basically. So you're being kinder to your mind so it doesn't throw the idea out the window straight away. You're being kinder to build belief faster. We have to build belief in the deepest part of our mind, our subconscious mind. And so when we use the law of relativity and we break it down to the ridiculous, it's actually pretty easy to do. You break it down to a daily figure. Even if you're already in a business and you sell products or services, look at what you used to sell in a month, sell it in a week, sell it in a day. And then all you have to do is wake up that day and think about, well, how do I generate $2,000 of business today? Because the $2,000 of business is the same vibration as $1 million a year. You're just working with it on a daily basis. So that is that's key, because otherwise you'll always it'll take a lot longer to build belief, and you'll reject it faster because the jump seems so big. So I think step number 3 in creating $1 million business is to break it down to the ridiculous.
And I love that. And what I also love is that I get out the calculator, and I find a lot of business owners are scared of playing with just numbers. And I will have an idea, I calculate numbers, and it's a game. It's not a serious thing. You can come up with products, or if I'm out and about and I think, oh, I wonder how much that will equate to if I do this and I do that. And you can easily come up with new ideas that create $1 million very easily when you start playing with the numbers and playing with the calculator, and just start allowing yourself to play.
Yes, absolutely. Remind me, I'm going to tell you a story when I finish these last 2 steps of someone I was working with around a $2 million goal. So just flag that with me, Rachel. I want to share that tip with you.
Okay. Great. We're up to step 4.
I know, step 4. We've got to get to step 4. So think and act like the person you want to become. I think that's key. Self-image is then key. You've got to feel worthy of it. And so what you need to do then is to start to use your imagination and say, well, if I had already had the $1 million business, if I was already there, how would I be thinking? How would I be thinking about myself? How would I be thinking about my clients, my customers? How would I be thinking about my business? How would I feel about what I've created? What would my habits in the business start to look like? What would I be doing? How would I be showing up? So you're walking the talk. You've got to show up. It's our emotional conception of ourselves. It's how we really feel and see ourselves on the inside that creates our outside results. So you've got to start to get into the energy of being $1 million business owner way before you do that. This is creating from within. So I think that's step number 4. And then step number 5 is where the law of compensation comes in. Focus and being willing to show up every day with the attitude of betterment. So when we look at the law of compensation decrees that the amount of money you earn will be in direct proportion to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing you. So there is a big need for what a lot of people do. So I don't think anyone watching this video would say there's not a big need for what I do. So then you look at your ability to do it, And the more effective you become at delivering your product or service, the more value you create, the better you provide that service, the more difficult you are to replace, and then your stock goes up. I'm very, very difficult to replace with what I do, and that's why I earn 7 figures. But it wasn't always like that. I have invested a lot of time and money in myself to get better at what I do, to build a better business, to improve what I do, to, you know, I build one model and then I outgrow it. And I'm like, that's not good enough yet. Let's do it better. Let's do it this way. So always working on that idea of betterment. So laser focused on the goal, and then show up every day with the attitude of betterment, and you'll create a 7-figure business super fast.
I remember I think 10 years ago, I was listening to a guy in his 90s, Goldman. And I used to listen to his audios about quantum jumping. It's about quantum jumping and going into your mind and meeting yourself on a different plane. And he would always say, and I'd listen to this every day when I'd be going to work, about, always creating something better every single day. If you can do that tiny little bit better than you did yesterday. And it never really made sense when I used to listen to it walking to Channel 10 back in the day, but every single event we run or every single program we run, it's about how can we improve it. And I think that sometimes people go, well, you're never happy because it's not good enough or it's never enough. But there's a difference between not being enough and just wanting to improve or just make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the desire to improve what you do is growth. It's understanding that the normal and natural lay of the land is expansion. It is to expand, it's to improve, it's to get better. That's normal. That when you stop having a desire to do that, you enter disintegration. And this happens in business. You start to settle. You start to think, well, I can't ask for more, or I should be happy, or I've reached my goal, or it's just where I want it to be. And you sit there you might get away with it for 6 months. You might get away with it for a couple of years, but then the business starts to go backwards because there's no growth attached. The leader of that business isn't working in a growth mindset to be able to bring about growth within that business. So you should always be grateful for what you've got, but never be satisfied. In fact, dissatisfaction is a creative state. So always be looking for a way to improve what you do. And the thing is, Rachel, is that most people will go looking on the outside for that change. Most people will go looking for a better system. They'll go looking for a better product, a better way of executing something, when actually the betterment has to come from within first. It's working on yourself as the leader in that business, that your own growth personally will precede you being able to create betterment in a system in your business, in the way you employ people, whatever it is. So most people are looking on the outside for how do I make this better? But where they have to start is within, and go and look within yourself and work on you first. And that will inform all the changes you have to make in your business to go to 7 figures and beyond.
And it's like with your team, if something's not showing up that you don't like, it's interesting because people will go, okay, that's something I don't like, but it's really important to go within and see, okay, where is it inside myself that I can be a better leader, or where is it that I need to look at? And I find that it's just everything is within. The outside changes when you change.
Absolutely. And you've got to think better, become more disciplined with what you're thinking about and what you're focused on, because that's where you'll attract the ideas of where do you need to make the improvements.
So let's just go over those 5 steps again. So somebody with $100,000 business wanting to create $1 million business. So step 1, just what was that one again?
Step 1 is to accept the idea.
Yeah,
you can do it, that you can have it, that it's possible for you.
So accept the idea. Number 2.
Number 2 is to make a committed decision that you're going to create a 7-figure business and put a date on it.
And
Number three is to break it down to the ridiculous. Make the goal look small. Look at it monthly, look at it weekly, look at it daily, relate it to what you're already doing, break it down to the ridiculous. Number 4 is to think and act like the person that you want to become. Think and act like a millionaire. Go there in your imagination and show up tomorrow like a millionaire in your business.
And that doesn't mean also spending outside the realm of what you have, because a lot of people say, oh, well, yeah, but I can't afford to do that. But it's in your mind that you create.
It's in your mind. That's correct. It starts, you can spend it in your mind. You can see yourself doing different things in your imagination. It might take you some time to be able to physically do that, but you've got to be there in your mind in how you're showing up not long before, it doesn't take that long, but that's what you have to do. But there will be many things that won't cost you a lot of money. You know, making those follow-up phone calls, going live a little bit more often on Facebook. It might be getting a better morning routine, getting fit and healthy. You know, one of the things that I did very early on, Rachel, I knew the impact that I wanted to have on the world, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it if I wasn't fit and healthy. So my health and fitness became a priority in my millionaire mindset. So there's a lot of things that go with showing up and embodying the self-image of a millionaire that won't cost you a lot of money, but that are absolutely critically important that you work on now.
I love that. And number 5?
And number 5 is focus, showing up with the attitude of betterment, just every day showing up and looking for ways to do better. How can you create more service, more value? How can you become more effective at what you're doing? And that requires you to work on you.
I love that. Awesome. So just continuing from my questions. So what are the biggest challenges? What are the 3 biggest challenges that you've had to work on yourself? Or what are the biggest unexpected challenges that you've faced that you've had to work on?
I think one that I really had to work on was around obviously my money mindset, but I would say off the back of that, it was seeing myself as a financially astute businesswoman, seeing myself as the businesswoman that could handle it.
Great.
That actually I would know what to do with the money when it comes, because that certainly was, I realized that was playing out for me for a little bit of time, because I had this belief system that I'm not very good with money, that I get it and it goes. There was a block around letting it flow at a much higher level, because what if I don't know what to do with it? You know, what's the point in earning more money, because it just comes in and it goes again. You know, how many people are watching this right now, and that's the reality for them, that well, and it's not that it's conscious, but it's playing out subconsciously. And so there's this we're not quite in the right vibration, and we're self-sabotaging a little bit what we can do, because actually we're a bit scared that it's just going to be like, why should I earn at 7 figures? Because I can't hold on to it anyway, or I won't know what to do with it, or so we get scared and we stop ourselves from being able to go out and earn it. So I think for me, that was one of my challenges that I realized was holding me back, that I had to really create once again, because I wasn't always like this. And this is the thing, that we have situations that happen to us or outside circumstances, and we take it on board. We didn't mean to take it on board, but we were ignorant to the fact that we didn't have to take it on board. And it starts to impact what we can earn.
I think the biggest thing too is awareness, because when you aren't aware that there's beliefs holding you back, I think when you start to just work on your mindset in the inner game, then that's when you start to realize some of the things that they come into awareness, don't they?
Yes, they definitely do. So I think that was a big awareness for me, and I'd say was it a challenge? It was something that I knew I had to overcome to go to 7 figures, that I had to become a really confident money manager. I had to love money again. I had to look after it. I had to know what to do with it. I had to know that I could handle it, that when it's coming in large quantities, I would know where to put it. I got help with that. I've got great people within my business that support the financial side of it, managing it week to week. I'm really, really across the financial side of my business, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to go to 7 figures not having that part of my business locked up tightly, as in being across it.
How do you feel about if you see a coin on the street and you see that, What do you feel about just that one coin that you might find on the street compared to, say, lots of it coming in? Do you have the same feeling about whether it's one coin you find or whether it's $1 million, or how do you feel about money that you find on the street?
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? How do I feel about it?
Like, when you find one coin, are you grateful for that one coin, and you look at all money the same, that you're grateful it's coming in no matter
Oh,
where it comes from?
yes.
And
Yes.
whether you're just like, I'm not going to pick that coin up, that means nothing.
No,
So
no, it's gratitude. You gotta love and respect it. That's how you get it to flow at a higher level.
great.
So, I'm grateful every day for the money that flows. I was grateful every day when I didn't have any, and I was, had a very small amount of it coming into my bank account. I was so much gratitude around it, because it's a mindset. It's,
Mm,
you've got to get comfortable. If you want to be comfortable with 100,000 a month or 200,000 a month coming in, you've got to be comfortable. You've got to be comfortable with it at that level, but you get there by being comfortable with having money coming to you. There are a lot of people, Rachel, that want more money but are not comfortable with it coming to them because
mm,
they're very used to living in poverty. They're very used to living with not enough. So even though they want more, the idea of it then coming is like, well, that's not normal for me to have a lot of money. So I better make sure I don't keep it. I'm going to self-sabotage. I'm going to stop the flow. I'm going to screw things up. So this is what's going on to make sure that I never have enough money, because it's habit for me to live with a poverty mindset. It's habit for me to live with not enough. It's habit for me to just try to make ends meet month to month. So we've got to break that.
yeah, I love that. That's
Really, really comfortable with money. We've got to have a great relationship with money. One of the things that I did on my road to building a 7-figure business was totally change my relationship to money. I wrote a story about myself and my friend Money, and I actually imagined that money was a person, and what sort of relationship did I want to have with money, and the things that we would do together and to create together, and how money would bring more of her friends because I loved it and I'd treat them well. And it's like, if you're hanging out with someone and they're in a bad mood, they don't look after you, they don't look after your friends, you're not going to go back, are you? I mean, if you think of it like that. And so I realized that my relationship with money got pretty crap there for a while. And so no wonder more of it wasn't coming. I didn't understand money. I didn't understand that money was energy, and that, what the purpose of money was to keep me comfortable and then extend the good that I could do. And once I was comfortable, then I could do more good with what I was earning, that it was good to want to earn more money. So my whole relationship with money, I had to change. And that was an exercise actually that I did, was I wrote about a story about myself and money. Another thing that I did to become very comfortable with money was I started to carry notes around. Like, I carry $1,000 cash in my purse. So every time I would open my purse, I would see that I had money.
Actually, that's an exercise you gave me once, and I absolutely loved that. And the first time I did it, I remember thinking, what if someone steals my purse, and all those thoughts
because lack and limitation mindset, I won't have any more coming to me.
Yeah.
I don't mind if someone steals my purse, because I know that there's always more coming to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always like that.
Interesting what comes up though when you put that money in your purse, because whether someone steals it or you leave it behind, or I better not spend it and save it because I don't want it to disappear. I remember all these things, and I thought, isn't it a simple exercise that brings up a lot of things that you then realize that are there to work on? I love
Absolutely. It really is. And it's an important exercise to go and do, because again, you want to be building the belief system that I always have money, that I always have more than enough money. And yet every time you go to open your purse, you're saying, I don't have any money. You do, but it's on your FPOS cards. But mentally, you don't link that as having money. If someone says to you, have you got any money on you? You say no. You do have money, but you don't. So money, we still have an image in our, when I ask you to think about money, you don't think about your FPOS card, you think about a $50 note. And so when you want more money, you've got to actually be impressing that image over and over and over again to support the belief that you have money. and that you have more than enough money, and you love money, and you love handing it over for the coffee and whatever it is. And so I was working on this 4 or 5 years ago, right at the start of, right, I'm going to change this. I'm going to get myself out of this black hole. And I carried $1,000 on me every day for, it was 30 days to begin with, and I didn't spend it. Now, I didn't spend it because I couldn't. I spent it there to get used to seeing a lot of money, and to change the idea that I didn't have any money, that I actually had a lot of money. And that was something else that I did that really made a big impact for me, getting very comfortable with this idea of money again.
I love that. That's a fantastic exercise. I remember when I did it too. It brought up lots of things around money, and it's amazing. Definitely do that exercise if you're wanting to shift things. It does bring up a lot of things. So that's fantastic. I love that. So how did you feel when you reached your 7-figure goal? Describe to me the feeling.
Okay, so when I reached my 7-figure goal, I actually had to go back and double check, because I knew that I was like close to that number, but I had to go back and double check, and it was like, oh, I did it. That's how it felt, because I guess I'd lived with the idea for so long. It felt normal and natural, and that's how it should feel. You want the idea of earning $1 million a year to feel so normal and natural for you, and that's when it happens. No longer is outside of you. You are one with it. That you've actually become the goal. You're a millionaire. Like, that's just who you are. That's how you're showing up every day. And you've got the mindset and the habits that you're just there. And so that's, I love the idea of it. And there was so much momentum behind it. But it was for nothing else than just like a milestone in my business.
Did you celebrate? Did you celebrate? Because I remember when we've hit a few huge milestones in our business, it was like, oh, right. It was almost like, oh, of course. It's just like, it's gone, bang. It's
yeah.
Well, okay. Now was the next one.
Yeah, it's so true. I certainly did like, I really celebrated me in terms of my focus and persistence to attain a new level of excellence in my business and in my industry and in my career and the people that I was helping. Like, I had a phenomenal year. It's a really, really phenomenal year. And it was a culmination of lots and lots of growth preceding those years. So I did celebrate. I was heavily pregnant at the time, so I can't say that I popped it. I popped a great big bottle of champagne, but I'm sure I had half a glass somewhere there and kind of toast myself. And, and I was around some family and friends at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, I did $1 million in my business. And, oh, did you? Great. Let's get back to cooking the sausages on the Barbie. So like, you sort of think it's going to be this huge, wow, I did $1 million in my business. And kind of on the inside, I was like, that's kind of cool. I've been wanting to do that for some time now. But life goes on, it's just, and looking back, I look at it now and I see the difference from those years of 500,000, 600,000. I can see the difference from when I was doing like 250 to then 500,000 to 600, and what it took to go over that 7 figures. But now that I'm there, it feels completely normal and natural to be operating at that level.
I'm all about going out there and following your crazy ideas, and whether it's following the elephant documentary or whatever, we're always about following your crazy ideas. So now that you're in the 7 figures, what are some of your crazy ideas that you're wanting to create in the world to make the world a better place? What's some of your big visions that you're stepping into doing now?
It's like, I certainly want to help a lot more people with what I do. Sort of double or triple the amount of people that I want to help. When I started to work with Bob in 2015, one of the goals, or one of the statements that I wrote in my self-image script then, was that I wanted to help 1,000 people go through my Thinking into Results coaching program. And since I began that, I've helped about 350 or so people go through it. So is that right? I think so. So that's something that I really want to do. I kind of want to finish what I started, Rachel, and make sure that I've touched the lives of at least 1,000 people, because it's life-changing, as you know. So I want to finish that. And I feel like there's a bit of creative freedom there to now really create at that higher level, and I have some financial freedom and some backing to create at that higher level. I also want to do some more things philanthropically. So there's some charities that I really want to support. And I also want to work more from a philanthropic point of view around the youth and education, teaching them some of these things. So that's something else that I feel really passionate about. And then in terms of my own getting out there, I've always seen myself speaking in stadiums, like really huge auditoriums, sharing and connecting people with what I've learnt. So for me, it's about really stepping up there now. So I'm thinking, obviously more into the 8-figure realm now. And when I think like that, Rachel, it's not about the accumulation of the money. It's thinking about the lives I will have touched, the service I will have rendered. What can I do if I start to orientate at that level? For me to earn that, I will have had to have done some pretty cool work in the world. Because again, law of compensation. What are you doing? Your ability to do it. So what I'm focused on is becoming more effective. I know that I'm not good enough yet because I don't help everyone I meet. I know that my team's not good enough yet because we're not helping everyone that comes across us. So I'm so committed to working on myself so I can get better at helping more people. And I know that the money will take care of itself. Like I know that with every cell of my body. I know the goal will take care of itself. If I keep orientating myself to a much higher level of thinking, then everything about my life will continue to improve. And that means that everyone that I come in contact with will benefit from that. So for me, that's what it's really about. It's touching more lives. It's helping more people become confident around this. Not everyone wants to build a 7-figure business, but I want everyone to know that you can have what you want, whatever that is. And that was a little piece of advice, my mum, I guess, kept me grounded within all of this, that not everyone will want to earn 7 or 8 figures, Karen. There'll be someone out there whose life will change just by having an extra $50,000 available to them. I've worked with, families who have gone in rural Australia going through agriculture and to earn another 100,000 changes their life. It means kids can go to boarding school, they can take the holidays. So those are the sort of ideas that get me out of bed, finding a way to leverage to help more people, to speak to more people in the world that they can understand this and really change their life, because it's not very nice when you're living with lack and limitation, and at the end of the day, it's an inside job, as you know.
Absolutely. And so with the philanthropic areas, what areas are you interested in? So youth is one. Is that your main focus? That's the area that you really love?
Yeah, definitely. So I have had a lot of clients speak to me about teaching this information in schools, to children. So one of the things that I'm working on this year is like a pilot program I'm actually going to work with some kids or children of clients of mine who I know are interested in the work and who have got goals. And what I love about kids is they're like, I want to buy the Ferrari, I want the house, I want the $1 million business. They don't have the crap that we as adults have. Like they're so pure in spirit, and I want to nurture that with them. And so that's something that I'm working on this year is a pilot program around teaching some of this to kids or to that sort of next generation so they get it. The other thing that I have been a supporter of is the Unstoppable Foundation, and it's our philanthropic partner with the Proctor Institute. And they essentially build schools, but we have 5 pillars with the Unstoppable, health, food, education, shelter, so that we can get whole villages out of poverty. And I'm already sponsoring a couple of scholarships. So what's beautiful is they've been teaching this information with the relationship with Bob Proctor and PGI and the Unstoppable. So I've already been investing in a couple of scholarships, and I would like to sponsor a village, so take a whole village out of poverty.
Wow.
And
how many people are in a village?
Well, that's a really good question. I think about 100 to 200 people will benefit.
Wow.
And so when I sponsor a village, basically they can go in and set up the 5 pillars of health, education, food, shelter, clean water, all of those things. Because what we know, particularly with those sort of programs, is everyone wants to build the schools, but the kids are not in school because they're having to go and, you know, get fresh water and all that. So I love what the Unstoppable are doing, and certainly that's something that 2020 I'll make sure that we sponsor a village and we take a village out of poverty.
Was the Unstoppable Foundation?
So they work a lot in Kenya,
Yep.
in the Maasai.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So at the moment I'm sponsoring 2 young women who are doing an agricultural degree, so who have come up through this program, who are now at sort of university level. So I'm sponsoring 2 of those to go through the 2-year program, and then my next goal is to sponsor a whole village. So
awesome. How exciting.
This year.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I just love the wisdom, and I believe that anybody watching this, there is some definite gold here for anybody that wanting to go from $100,000 or even just making a little bit more money. If you can take on the exercises that Karen suggested, or if you can write down these steps and really embody the information that she's teaching, it's going to really change your life. So yeah. So thank you. Any last words of wisdom from you, Karen?
Wow. Well, this has been so wonderful, Rachel. Thank you for inviting me on and being able to have this conversation with you and connect with those who are watching this today.
Thank you.
I think what I want to leave you with is to hold the image of what you want. For so long in my life, there was no physical evidence that I would go over 7 figures, even though I wanted it. And I believe I was very committed and, you know, confident enough to go out and do it. But I just kept showing up, and you would know, Rachel, the last 5 years, I've been so focused on becoming the best in the world at what I do, and holding the image of what I wanted to create for my clients, you know, knowing that I wanted to orientate myself beyond 7 figures, but then really bringing it back to a day-to-day service, value, effectiveness, showing up, working on myself. And so I guess what I want to say is that there will be months, there'll be weeks, there'll be years sometimes where there's no physical evidence that you're going to be able to do it. And even in September 2019, there was no physical evidence that I would go over 7 figures. And within 2.5 months, I could just, you know, anyway, it happened in a huge way. And 3 months ahead of when I said that I wanted to hit the goal. So it was only in August where I committed to it and said, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 35. What did I give myself, 6 or 7 months to do it? And from the time that I actually decided I'd do it to when it was done was probably 4 months later. So
you did so much groundwork, and you did.
Yeah. And I don't want to underplay that. Like, you know, I was showing up with that belief for a long time before it physically manifested, but that's what you have to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really, really, I love that, because sometimes the evidence isn't there and you feel like you're going backwards, but you're not. They're in the vibration and the energy of what you're creating. It is happening. And then sometimes you can stop that by the thinking that you're doing. You're actually preventing it from coming into form. So
yeah, absolutely. So just stay the course. I think if you show up and stay the course, and no matter what anyone else says to you, if that's what you want to do, build the business that you love, whatever that looks like for you. You can have what you want. Go out there and accept the idea. You can have what you want, make a decision around what you want, and then show up every day. And I guarantee it'll happen so much faster than you ever thought was possible. And that's the way I feel about my goal. I look back and sort of say, well, it probably took 4.5 years, but it still only took 4.5 years. Most people will never make a decision to even do it.
Exactly.
So
that's a fantastic final words. Thank you, Karen.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Well, if you want to get in touch with Karen, have a look at Karen Brook. It's on your Facebook page, or reach out to Karen, and I'm sure I'll put the details of where you can get in touch with her if you want to learn more about her amazing work. So thank you so much for being a part of the $1 Million Women series.
It's going to be so good. Thank you, Rachel.